Okay, so ready to dive in. Today, we are looking at globalization, but like from a really interesting perspective.
Yeah, it's not your typical the world is flat kind of thing.
Right. We're using this paper by Arjun Appadurai. He's an anthropologist.
Oh yeah, I've read some of his stuff.
It's called, hang on, let me check. Appadurai globalization.pdf. Super catchy, I know.
Straight to the point.
Right. So basically, Appadurai says like globalization doesn't just make everything the same.
It actually creates like more diversity.
Yeah.
But then that causes all these like clashes.
Exactly. Between economies, cultures, political systems, it's like a constant push and pull.
And that's where his idea of scapes comes in. It's how he explains how culture actually moves around the world.
So it's not just like countries trading goods, right? It's deeper than that.
Way deeper. He's talking about 5 scapes. Ethnoscapes, mediascapes, technoscapes, financescapes, and ideoscapes.
5 scapes. Okay, so started with ethnoscapes. What's that all about?
Well, think about people moving around, right? It's not just static borders anymore.
Okay, yeah, like tourists, immigrants, refugees, all kind of mixing together.
Exactly. They all contribute to the cultural, landscape. They change the places they go to, and their own identities get, remixed, too.
So, like, everyone's influencing each other. It's not just one culture dominating.
Right. And Appadurai says this movement is way more intense now with, huge diasporas forming all over the world.
Diaspora's meaning.
Communities that are spread out but connected by their culture or where they came from. Think like Little Italy in New York.
Ah, got it. Got it. So, okay, moving on from people, we have mediascapes. What are those?
Mediascapes are all about the flow of information and images. Think like Bollywood movies being super popular in the Caribbean.
Or like K-pop blowing up everywhere. So basically it's how media kind of creates these shared worlds, even if we've never actually been to those places.
Totally. But there's also a question of power here, right?
Well, like who's controlling what we see?
Exactly. Some countries and companies have way more influence over what gets produced and consumed globally.
So we're not all seeing the same things necessarily.
Not necessarily, and even if we are, it might be filtered through a specific lens, which makes you think, whose stories are being told, whose aren't.
That's a really good point. And this idea of controlling information, leads us into technoscapes, right?
For sure. Technology, the internet, smartphones, it's all about connection, but also potentially control.
Right, because the internet makes it seem like the world's getting smaller, but
it also highlights the differences. Think about the digital divide.
Meaning?
Not everyone has equal access to technology.
Oh, right. So some people are left out of this whole interconnected thing.
Totally. And that can make existing inequalities even worse.
Makes sense. Okay, so next up, financescapes. This is where things get a little complicated.
Yeah, financescapes are all about global capital flow. It's like trying to track a river, it's constantly moving, changing direction.
So basically money is just flying around the world at lightning speed.
Pretty much. And it impacts everything. Think about how currency fluctuations in one country can mess things up in another.
Yeah, that makes sense. So it's not just about individual countries anymore. It's all connected.
It's all connected, for better or worse. These financial markets, they influence government policies too, everything from trade deals to how they handle economic crises.
Wow, so financescapes are like the puppet master behind the scenes.
In a way, yeah, they have a lot of power to shape the global landscape.
Okay, last but not least, ideoscapes. What are those?
Ideoscapes are all about the flow of ideas, like political ideas, democracy, freedom, human rights, stuff like that.
Yeah, things that seem like universally good, right?
Well, it's not always so simple. These ideas, they don't always fit neatly into every culture. Sometimes they clash with local traditions and values.
Ah, so it can cause conflict.
It can. And we also got to remember that ideologies can be used to manipulate people to serve the interests of, powerful groups.
So even something that sounds good can be twisted.
Yeah, it's all about who's using the idea and for what purpose.
Okay, so after diving deep into Appadurai's 5 scapes, what have we learned? Globalization is like this crazy complex web.
It's not just about everything becoming the same. It's these constant flows of people, media, technology, money, ideas, all bumping into each other.
And that creates both connections and, what's the word, clashes?
Disjunctures.
Right, disjuncture. See, I learn something new every time.
Me too.
But here's a question for everyone listening. How do you experience these 5 scapes in your own life?
Yeah. What unique cultural flows and disjunctures do you see around you? Think about how these global forces shape your local reality.
That's something to think about. And As always, keep exploring, keep learning. There's a whole world out there.
And lots of deep dives to be had.
Exactly. Until next time.
See ya.